Hi everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tales Crafts, and today I'll be showing you two projects for the Trinity Stamps design team. And I'm going to showcase this stamp set right here. It's called A Crafter's Heart. Inside the stamp set is this large heart filled with different craft and art supplies. So you can send this card to a crafter, a card maker, a scrapbooker, but also an artist, since there are paintbrushes and paints also within that heart. You can see I'm stamping the image out twice, and I did stamp that heart out with Memento Tuxedo black ink, which is an alcohol-friendly ink. You can see that I'm going to use my Copics, and I'm going to color the hearts in pretty much the exact same way. Towards the end I change up a few colors on the different art supplies, but for the most part I'm coloring them the same, and I'm also coloring them at the same time, trying to make the process a little bit quicker. One of these hearts I'm going to leave as the heart, and then the other one I'm going to cut each individual piece out by fussy cutting it out. And I didn't bother to fussy cut all those tiny sequins. I mostly just die cut the larger images in the heart, and you'll see what I'm going to do with that later on. So like I said, I'm coloring with my Copics here, and I'm pretty much only using 2 markers, and I chose rainbow colors. And I do have the caps on the screen, but I kind of just pick the colors from my stash. I don't really pay attention too much. I just want to try to find rainbow colors that are pretty bright. And whenever I work with my Copics, I always start with my darkest marker. I lay out the shadows. So typically when things overlap, I will add a shadow underneath. 95% of the time I have a center highlight. For me, that's just the easiest to picture the shadows, because the shadows will always be on the edges of the items. So that's usually what I do, and that's what I'm doing in this case. So there's a center highlight, so all of the little images are going to have the highlight in the center and the shadows on the edges. You can see with that envelope, I added a lot of gray on the inside of the envelope because there is a heart that's on top of it, so it would naturally cast a shadow inside the envelope. I am coloring at 5 times the speed. It took me 30 minutes to color both of these hearts, so not too bad. So you can definitely replicate this card if you want to, and I will be creating 2 shaker cards, but I think both of these cards would look beautiful without the shaker element to it, and that would make it even faster to replicate these cards. So I think I color for about 7 minutes here, so I cannot possibly talk about coloring for 7 minutes because it's very simple. I don't overcomplicate it. I know people really stress out about coloring, and I used to feel like I had to use 4 colors to color really small images like this. And then over the years, I kind of just got over it, and I stuck to the true center highlight concept. I learned that pretty well, and I stuck with it. I don't venture too far out in coloring. Personally, I used to love coloring a lot more, but I've kind of gotten more into die cutting recently. I kind of go through phases, though. I'm sure I'm going to come back to coloring again, but I guess while I color, I can talk about my new subscribers. So I've gained about 500 in the last month or so, and I'd say about 1,000 in the last 3 months. So I've never gained this many subscribers in such a short amount of time. And I want to thank everyone who has recently joined my channel. Thank you guys for subscribing. It means a lot because these videos do take a lot of time, and it's very exciting for me that people enjoy watching them, and I love reading your comments. So please leave them if you enjoy watching my videos. But yeah, I just want to reintroduce myself to all the new people who've joined. And my name is Sabrina. I'm 21 years old, and crafting is my passion. And I'm very fortunate enough to own a business selling handmade greeting cards. So I sell mostly online, so on Etsy, Amazon. But I do, about once a month, I do go to a craft show in my local area. So yeah, and then I sell at boutiques and museums. So it's a very nice income for me, and I get to do what I love to do. And at the same time, I can work on design teams. And every now and then, I can create videos for you guys to see, showing you how I make the cards that I do end up selling. So I'm pretty much living out my dream that I've had since I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, when scrapbooking was my thing when I was younger. I didn't even like cards when I was younger. I don't know really how I got into them, but now I feel like I can't go back to scrapbooking because cards are such a smaller surface area to work on, and I feel like a scrapbook layout would be so overwhelming. But I used to spend hours working on a single scrapbook layout, and that's what I would spend my weekends doing when I was younger. And I studied political science in college. I graduated last spring, and the entire time I was in school, I was paying my rent through selling my cards and my business, and it kind of just grew while I was in college. And I'm very grateful that I got a college degree, because if this ever fails, I have that to lean on, and I do like what I learned in school, so I would not be miserable working in a political science job. But this is ultimately what I love doing, so I hope that I can continue doing this for the rest of my life. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. Okay, so it looks like I'm finishing up the coloring here. I'm going to go over some of these images with my purples. I believe that's the last color I used. I did use every color in the rainbow, as you can see. And this image was a lot of fun to color, and the design team has done some amazing projects with this stamp set. You can see my method of coloring. I like to map out all of the areas with that particular color. You saw with the purple, I tried to space the purple out throughout the heart, and I made sure not to put two purples next to each other. I think this last thing I'm coloring here is that swatch sheet. Yep. And so that completes my coloring. Like I said, for one of these hearts, I wanted to fussy cut some of the images out. And I mostly stuck to the larger images and then the larger sequins. And I am cutting right up to the black line. They were pretty easy to fussy cut. I'm using my Cutter Bee scissors here. They're my favorite scissors that I own, but they're kind of dull. I have to get some new scissors. But they're doing the trick here. So obviously I'm not going to show you how I cut all of these. So you can see there's my little pile of fussy cut images. And then for the other heart, I'm going to take a heart die from my stash. And this is an Elizabeth Craft heart. All of the extra supplies I will have listed down below. And I thought it would be fun to have the card base be a heart also. So I'm going to take a slightly larger heart from that same die set. And then I took a sheet of 110-pound white Neenah cardstock and I folded it in half. And then I'll take my heart die and I'm going to place it right over that score line or that folded edge. I want part of that heart hanging off of it so that I can create the card base. If you don't leave it hanging off, then you're going to cut through both sides of the card base, if that makes sense. So you're not going to have that hinge at the top to open and close. So you want to make sure you leave a little bit off the top and then die cut that through your die cut machine. I had to die cut it a few times to cut it through both layers of that heavyweight cardstock, but I was able to do that. And as you can see, I die cut that smaller heart from the front of the card base, and that's because I wanted to create a see-through shaker. So in order to do that, you have to use 2 sheets of acetate. So I'm going to add 1 sheet onto this pink frame, which I used with the 2 heart dies. And then I'll also glue some acetate onto another pink frame. I'll just trim off the rest of that acetate. And this is the first time I've created a see-through shaker card. And I think it turned out really cute. Alright, so in order to glue the heart on the inside, I have to trim the tops of it off, since like I said, it's not a perfect heart card base. So you can see I lined it up in the front and then trimmed off the top. And then I'll just add glue and attach that frame on the inside. And then I'm going to want to attach the other frame on to the front of the card, but first I'm going to add my foam tape. And this foam tape is by Uline. It's double mounted, so it's perfect for shaker cards. I'm going to add that all around my heart. And then I had these sequins on my desk from my last video. It is a Hero Arts sequin pack, so I just added the rest of those. I'm going to take out the balloons from the sequin pack since they're a little bit distracting. I just wanted the confetti, and it's rainbow colors, so it matched my crafter's heart perfectly. I'm also going to add a few Trinity stamp embellishments, and these are clear, so they kind of just take on other colors around it. And then I will attach my second pink frame. And then when you open it, you can see the shaker through the inside, which is really cool. And it didn't take much time at all. And then I decided to adhere my crafter's heart on the inside of the card, so you can see it through the shaker window, but it's actually on the inside of the card. And I guess I would write my message around the heart, since that pink frame will cover the inside of the card. Alright, and then I needed a sentiment, so I'm going to white heat emboss. I think this says, "To my crafty friend," for my crafty friend. So I'm going to white heat emboss that onto some black cardstock, and then I'll use my scissors to just cut around the sentiment. I thought about adding it in the center, but I didn't want to cover up all that coloring, so I will attach it to the side of the card. And I'm only adding glue to the pink heart frame. I don't want to add glue to the acetate because you will see it from the inside. Okay, so I'll just trim off the rest of that sentiment, and then I'm going to take a few of those fussy cut sequins, and I'll add 4 of those onto the sentiment. And then the way I would mail this card would be in a 5 1/4 inch square envelope, which I'm showing you here. And here I slowed down the video so you can see that shaker in action. I think it turned out super cute. Here's a close-up. For my second card, I wanted to create an A7 card, so this panel is cut to 6.5 by 4.5, and I'm going to die cut some circles from this panel, also by Elizabeth Craft. And I'm going to end up cutting 5 of these, so I'm going to run this through my die cut machine with the 4 dies, and then I'm going to move that circle down to the bottom left corner and die cut a 5th circle. And I'm going to keep those circles that are die cut from those windows. I'm going to stamp on them. And I'm also going to die cut a larger circle. It's 1 size larger than the largest circle on that panel. And then I'm going to stamp on each of these circles. I'm going to stamp the crafter's heart inside each of the circles. I'm just showing you a different way you can use this stamp. You don't have to use it as a heart. You can stamp it on whatever shape you have. You can see I'm trying to stamp these circles in different areas of the stamp. I wanted them to show different images. I am inking up the stamp with Memento Tuxedo black ink again, and I will be coloring these in with my Copics. I will show you how I color one circle since I did color these in differently than I did for my first card, so I wanted to show you how I did at least one of the circles, but I did the same for all of them. I just changed up the colors. So first I'm going to add the acetate behind my shaker window panel. And like I said in the beginning of this video, both of these cards that I created today would be really pretty without the shaker element, especially this one, I feel. But I just decided since my first card was a shaker, I'll just show a second version of it to show the versatility of the stamp set. So I'm going to show you how I colored one of these circles. I'm going to take several green colors, and I'm not making sure to match the numbers. I'm not going to do much blending. I really just wanted to have some dark green, medium green, and light green. I wanted some different hues because this entire circle is going to be green, and I wanted to make sure that they're not all the same color green. But yeah, I didn't pick my colors based on blending them. I mostly just wanted a bunch of different greens. So what I plan on doing with each of these circles is making it one color. So this is my green circle. I'm also going to have a blue, purple, red, and yellow circle. So I chose rainbow colors again. And then inside each of the circles, I'm going to have color-coordinated sequins. So in this circle, I'm going to have some light green sequins. But I decided just to show you one circle. I'll also add that for each of my circles, I also incorporated my C markers. I wanted to have some gray mixed with the color just to break it up and not look like it's just all green. I felt like the C markers really help to break up the colors, so I do add them on each of my circles. You can see for the green one I added the gray to that paint tube and to a few of the sequins. And I'm using the circles that are slightly larger than the circle I cut from the window panel. That just makes it easier for me to adhere the circles to the background and not have to adhere them perfectly right up against the lines of the window. So since they're slightly larger, I don't have to be as careful to line them up with my shaker window. Okay, so here you can see off camera I colored in the rest of the circles. And I thought it would be fun to mix my sequins with those fussy cut images that I cut out earlier. And just like I'm going to coordinate my colored sequins to the circles, I'm also going to coordinate the fussy cut images. So I'm just going to glue down my last two circles here. And I really feel like you can finish it here. You put a lot of work into it. It's super pretty. It's a different way to use that stamp set. But I'm going to just show what it would look like as a shaker. First, I'm going to stamp out my sentiment. I want to do that before I add the foam tape. So I chose You Make Life Colorful that comes in the stamp set. I inked it up with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then I'm going to take some of those fussy cut images and add them to their designated color. And I'm only going to add a single layer of foam tape this time. I didn't want there to be a whole lot of shaking happening. And honestly, these fussy cut images blend so well into the background that you probably don't even know that they're separate from the circle. But I still thought they were pretty cool. They do look like they're floating above, which I think is cool. So here I'm adding in my sequin bits, and they're not really sequins. They're little confetti pieces, and they're by Recollections. They're really tiny, so they're perfect for this card. The red sequins are borderline pink, but I felt like they were gonna work fine for that. Alright, so now I'm going to attach my shaker window panel. I did off camera add a single layer of foam tape behind that. And here is the completed shaker. I'm going to slow it down so you can see Since it is one layer, it's not super shaky, but I kind of like how that looks. Kind of like it that it looks like everything is just floating. Alright, and then just to finish off this card, I'm going to add a few of these boiled sugar heart droplets by Trinity Stamps. I'm just going to glue them in a diagonal as I normally do with sequins or embellishments. And that will pretty much complete my second card. I love this one. I love that it's an A7 card. So I'm going to glue this panel onto my A7 card base. I'm just using some double-sided tape here. And that will complete my card. So I'm going to pull in the first card that I created just to show you side by side what they look like. I love how these turned out. Let me know down below which one you like better. If you haven't yet already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when I post a new video. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!